Good evening. It is really good to be here with you at the RJC and see so many familiar faces that are united behind one common goal, and that is to elect more Jewish Republicans. Now, I stand before you tonight as one of two Jewish Republicans in the House of Representatives. By the way, in November, we're going to elect the third, so we're going to grow by 50%. Proud of Max Miller, proud of Craig Goldman. I am honored, that's right, to be the chairman of something called the House Knesset Parliamentary Friendship Group. Now, this is a group that's tasked with being the direct line of communication between members of Congress and the Knesset. In that capacity, I was honored earlier, just a couple of months ago in July, to go to Jerusalem to reiterate our nation's support for Israel in her fight against radical Iranian-backed terrorists. Now, during this trip, I met with the Speaker of the Knesset, Speaker Ohana, as well as Prime Minister Netanyahu, to discuss Israel's defense efforts in the north against Hezbollah and the success of the war in Gaza. I reassured Prime Minister Netanyahu that House Republicans will stand behind Israel and will continue to stand behind Israel. And we will make sure that Israel has all the resources that it needs in order to defend the nation of Israel. Now, you all know this. Today, we're facing a threat of greater magnitude than just killing and destruction. We're fighting enemies that seek the destruction and the elimination of Israel, and more broadly, the elimination of Western values like freedom, liberty, and democracy. If I could tell you one thing about some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, talk about what you can do in a position like this. One thing is, I sponsored a month or so after the October 7th attacks a resolution, and it said two things. Number one, that the United States House of Representatives absolutely condemns anti-Semitism. The other thing it did is it said anti-Zionism equates to anti-Semitism. Good news, bad news. The good news is it passed. Here's the bad, this is the vote total. 311 in favor, 14 against. 92 people stood there and voted present. Now, you may be asking yourself, who are these schmeckles? Well, you probably know who they are. Our colleagues across the aisle can't seem to grasp the reality of the situation in the Middle East. From Chuck Schumer to Joe Biden to Kamala Harris, the Senate leadership and the White House, sometimes it seems like they all but abandoned Israel. If President Biden was serious about Israel's security and peace in the Middle East, he would never, ever have unfrozen the $6 billion in Iranian assets. Never. And this is shocking to me, and I know it probably is to you, but President Biden has withheld certain munitions for Israel that Congress allocated, we voted on, to help Israel in their fight against evil. Here's another thing. The Vice President, the Democrat nominee, boycotted Prime Minister Netanyahu's address to a joint meeting of Congress. The only one that she's boycotted in the joint addresses to Congress, choosing instead to go to a campaign event. It's shameful. Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, the highest-ranking Jewish official in our government right now, stood on the floor of the United States Senate and he called for the re-election in our democratically controlled Israel to replace Netanyahu. We don't do that to our enemies, much less to our allies. That is shameful. And ladies and gentlemen, enough is enough. I tell you one more thing we've done, and this was under the leadership of our Ways and Means Chairman, Jason Smith, who you'll hear from in a moment. I serve on the House Ways and Means Committee, and we worked on legislation that became bipartisan to look at the nonprofit organizations, those 501c organizations that provide material support to terrorist or terrorist organizations and take away their tax-exempt status. I am proud to tell you that that bill passed unanimously in the Ways and Means Committee and passed the House of Representatives by a vote of 382 in favor to 11 against. But we've got to continue to work hard. We cannot take any more of the left's blatant anti-Semitism in disregard for our greatest ally in the Middle East. We cannot do it anymore. We've got to work to elect leaders who will stand with Israel and with the Jewish community in the United States and across the world. This should be a no-brainer. It's frankly a matter of good versus evil and life versus death. Now, the good news is we've got about 62 days left. Together, we can elect more strong Jewish Republicans that will help grow our majority in the House, take back the Senate, and put Donald Trump, the most pro-Israel, pro-Jewish president in our nation's history, back in the White House. And ladies and gentlemen, it starts right here. We can do that and run the trifecta, but we've got to work hard, and we've got to make sure that every vote counts, and I know that we will. Lastly, if I can, because you are all here, you all work hard to support the RJC. The Republican Jewish Coalition works hard to make sure that candidates like me get elected and reelected. So without your support, we can't do it. We need your continued support. We need the continued leadership of Norm Coleman and Matt Brooks, who do a great job leading the Republican Jewish Coalition. I'm committed for this fight. I'm committed to electing more like-minded Republicans to the House and to the Senate, and to make sure that we get Donald Trump back in the White House. May God bless you all. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much. Thank you.